Hello, and welcome to the Parkinson's Foundation Expert Briefings. I'm Lisa Hoffman, the Director of Professional Education at the Parkinson's Foundation, and I welcome you today as your host. Today's webinar is the third in our series of young onset Parkinson's disease. Today's special topic is partnering, the dance of relationships and romance. I'd like to thank our sponsor for making this webinar possible today, and that's Neurocrine Biosciences. And I'd like to just get you again familiar with the screen and how you can ask our presenters questions today and how you can receive information that we will be sending out to you, where you can find your slides. And if you're a health professional looking for a CEU, for the CEU link to take the quiz. On the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A with the two boxes. If you click on that, you can ask the presenter a question, and during our Q&A portion of the webinar, we will be asking your questions. In our chat box, we'll be chatting the link for the slides that you can download today and follow. They're also available on our website at parkinson.org/expert briefings. And also, we are chatting the link for health professionals who are interested in CEUs for this, from American Society on Aging, for this webinar today. But remember, you only have 30 days to apply for your one free CEU. But before we get started, I wanted to know a little bit about all of you and who is viewing. So if we can put our first poll up, please. So I'd like to know, who are you? So please tell us which of the following best describes you. And for our Facebook followers and viewers today, you will not be able to answer our poll when you're viewing on Facebook. If you have comments on the Facebook page and you'd like to ask our presenters, please do so as somebody is monitoring that as well. So a lot of times we have various people to tune in from around the country and around the world. So we're really very excited to see who is viewing with us. If you could push the results, please. And let's see. So we have a lot of health professionals on today. That is wonderful to see. I'm really glad that you could join us for today's webinar, and also care partners and the grand and everybody else who is on. And let's go to our other poll. Today, this series is about our young onset Parkinson's and Parkinson's disease area. So we'd like to know, if you're a person with Parkinson's or a care partner, what was the age of diagnosis? And for those health professionals who have patients working with people with Parkinson's, if you, this may not be as relevant to you to answer it, but all information is really very helpful. So thank you. Let's keep on coming in. I appreciate that. And let's see, can we have the results on our poll? All right, so we have the majority of in our 50s realm, and it's really great to see you there, and really a nice spread of all various decades. And we're really happy that you're here today. And lastly, I just wanted you to know that this webinar and all our webinars are recorded and available on demand at a later date, most likely within a few days of this live event. Before I present all our speakers for today, I wanted to let you know that you're not only going to be hearing from our expert presenter, Dr. Sheila Silver, but you're going to hear from a young couple from Arizona, Alma, Aragon, and Carlos Gonzalez. Carlos was diagnosed with Parkinson's 4 years ago at the age of 43. Alma and Carlos are from Guatemala. They have been together for 25 years and have 2 children, Gian and Laura. Alma and Carlos love to travel and spend time with the family. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Dr. Sheila Silver. Dr. Sheila Silver is a board-certified clinical sexologist in private practice in Portland, Oregon. She has a master's degree in marriage, family, and child therapy, and earned her doctorate in human sexuality. She is a trained sex counselor, group facilitator, and sex educator. She presents nationally and internationally on the topic of maintaining physical and emotional intimacy with a specific expertise in Parkinson's disease. Welcome, Dr. Sheila Silver, and we're so glad to have you present today.
Thank you, Lisa. It's great to be here. I'm so glad to be talking on this topic. For those of you maybe who have seen me at Parkinson's conferences, I typically talk about sexuality, but our focus today is on the dance of relationships and romance. And I'm loving this topic because I think how the quality of our relationships really affects our intimacy, our sexuality, our physical relationships. So they really go hand in hand. So this feels like a great topic I'm thrilled we're doing today. All right, so let's look at, let me move to my first slide. Oops, let's go back a sec here. Okay, so just wanted everyone to know I have no financial or conflicts of interest to report today. And basically what we're going to be doing is talking about how to have a great relationship. We're going to be looking at some of those very basic things that research shows are what most couples who are successful, what they do. So I'm taking my talk really from the work of John and Julie Gottman, who are very famous couples therapists based in Seattle, Washington. They conducted research on more than 3,000 couples over 4 decades, watching them, listening to them, noticing their behavior, and they took lots of notes and figured out exactly what the data shows is how couples have really great relationships. This quote to the right of this slide says, "The thing that surprised me the most was that the people who had really great relationships were really calm with each other and really kind and considerate with one another." That was something that John observed when he was watching these couples again and again. And it seems simple. Kind and consideration are very simple things, but it's easy when we're in relationship for a long time, sometimes for those things to fall by the wayside. So I'm going to reinforce that and talk about that more, but it's important that you understand that some of the simplest things are what helps us have great relationships. All right, so they identified 13 things all couples do who have great emotional and physical intimacy. And the first one, before I get to that, let me just talk about emotional intimacy. What are we talking about? What's our definition here? So essentially, we're talking about a closeness that you feel with your partner, where both people feel secure and loved, and there's trust and communication. You know when you feel close to your partner, you know how that feels inside of you. And it's an important aspect to wanting to be physical with your partner, to wanting to be sexual with your partner. So let's just take a poll as we start here. How many of you struggle to feel emotionally close with your partner? That would be very understandable, particularly during this time of pandemic. Let's just have our poll up and have everybody just vote about whether it's something that they feel they never feel emotionally close, periodically they feel emotionally close, they often or frequently feel emotionally close to their partner, or they always feel emotionally close. I want you to understand that whatever you answer, there are other folks who are feeling exactly the same way. And just notice if you're watching this with your partner, maybe they feel a little differently than you feel, like they feel close most of the time and maybe you don't. So that would be something important to talk about after this webinar. So let me give you just a few more seconds if you haven't picked one, and then let's see what our results are from this one. So most people say they feel periodically, 46%, but then never and frequently also have about the same amount. And then some people feel always. So you can see right there that all of us are represented there, and all of those answers would not be weird or bizarre. Like it's normal to sometimes never feel that, and it's also normal to always feel that. But more often than not, people feel it periodically. And my hope is that after this talk, you'll bump that from periodically to frequently. That would be great. All right, so let's move along to our next slide. Here we go. So the first thing that John and Julie Gottman found was that just simply saying, "I love you" every day and really meaning it. Now, I want to distinguish between what many of us do with our partners, saying "love ya" as they walk out the door, is different than saying "I love you." Like, you can feel the difference. And so think about that in your terms of your own relationship. You may say, oh yeah, I say I love you a lot, but probably what you say is, love ya. Or you're not even looking at them. It's sort of as they, you go to sleep at night and it's in the dark, love you. So my invitation to you is to look at your partner, look them in the eye as that couple is looking at in the eyes of each other, and making sure that you take that time to really hold their face, look into their eyes so that they feel what you're saying. Because underneath all the disagreements and upset and problems, the truth is that couples love each other, and it's an important thing to say. All right, moving on to the next one. Keep playing and having fun together. Now, this is something that's been a little more challenging during the pandemic, people getting out and about. The weather's getting cold now, so it's even harder to get out and about, perhaps. But I like to speak about this, particularly with Parkinson's patients, because it's interesting how easy it is for our life to get caught up with the things that we need to do to maintain our health and our well-being, and logistics and family stuff. And we kind of, the fun, the joy of our relationships sometimes slips away. And so John and Julie Gottman just remind us that we can't, no matter how simple it is, we can't let that slip away. We need to make sure that we're doing things that both of us find fun, not just individually, but as a couple, fun things that we like to do together. Okay, so our next slide says turning towards each other. This was something very interesting in their research, that they noticed that couples who last a long time and have good emotional intimacy, they actually turn towards each other physically with their bodies. It may be as simple as sitting on the couch having a cup of tea or reaching out and grabbing that person's hand. But it's very easy in our day to be distracted by our phones, to be distracted by our iPad or our television or our computer. And so I think it's important to remember that actually literally turning towards and having a conversation, looking into that person's eyes, going on a walk maybe and just holding their hand, whatever you can do that really is literally turning towards, and just noticing your own behavior. If you're feeling sort of distant, are you somebody who turns away from your partner actually on a regular basis? And is that something you could do differently so that you feel closer? And is that something that they could do more so that the two of you feel closer? All right, so giving surprise romantic gifts often was something that they found is really helps that emotional intimacy. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money. It can be something as small and as simple as a flower. It could be leaving a little note for somebody. It could be the simplest thing of getting them something small at the grocery store when you were going grocery shopping. It doesn't have to be a diamond ring or something, but I think it doesn't even have to be a full bouquet of flowers. But I think those little things that just, it's really what the gift says about you, and that you were thinking of them and you thought that they would like it. That's what makes it important and valuable. It's not the actual thing. It's just, hey, I was thinking of you and I thought this would bring a smile to your face. That creates emotional closeness. That makes you feel like, wow, thanks. It's not about the thing. It's about what the thing says. And so I encourage you to try to remember that. Maybe set yourself little reminders of leaving little notes or a little something. It doesn't have to be frequently, but just periodically, that just says, I'm thinking of you, you're in my thoughts, you're important to me, you matter to me, I love you. That's what it's saying. All right, taking romantic vacations. They found that couples who last a long time are doing that. Now, of course, we're in a pandemic where traveling around is fairly problematic right now, but that's okay. It's just keeping it in the back of your mind and looking at almost anything as a little vacation. Is there a way you could go away somewhere just for the night maybe, and pretend that you're on vacation, even though maybe you're in your hometown and you haven't gone very far? There's a lot of hotels that have set up a lot of protocols so that people feel comfortable and feel safe. My husband and I did that, going out to the coast just for a couple of days, and we chose a place that had a little kitchen so that we could make our own food and we didn't have to be out and about much, but it was just time away from our regular life. And this is very valuable to a lot of couples to feel more relaxed, to feel like they're having a little getaway, a little something different. So being creative and seeing, are there ways you could incorporate this more in your relationship would be great. Having weekly dates. Again, this doesn't have to be a lot of money. It can be an appointment to have some time on the couch together for an hour one night a week. It can be on a picnic, bringing some sandwiches. It can be something simple, but having weekly dates, which is not necessarily a meal, it could simply be just some time for just us, where we're leaving computers aside, we're leaving family members aside, and we're really focusing on our relationship and the joy that we have together and the fun of just the two of us. You know, that's the thing about vacations and time away, is it brings us back to each other, taking away our roles that we have in our life as daughter or husband or child or, you know, what sister, whatever you may, all the different roles that are on your shoulders, taking that all off for a moment and having an hour with your person is really very important. Oh, I'll go back. Oops, hang on a second here. My husband and I have created this thing that we're doing right now during the pandemic, where every Sunday night we have international night, and we choose a country like Japanese food, and we get some Japanese food maybe, and we watch a Japanese movie, and we listen to Japanese music, and we just have fun with that, or Chinese music, or whatever it is. It's been really, really fun. It feels festive, it feels creative, it's not expensive, but it's a way to spend time together in a festive, celebratory kind of way. So that's just our way of creating some time that's different and fun in our relationship. Okay, so staying good friends, laughing together, remembering that at the end of the day, we have each other and we're in this for the long haul. And so being good friends and figuring out what's gotten away, how have we gotten away from that? Is it that we're just not spending time together? Is it that we're spending too much time together and we need actually more breaks from each other? That may be what's getting in the way of having really close friendship with your person. So making sure that you laugh, that your life isn't just about responsibilities, obligations, and that you're making sure you remember why you chose each other from the beginning. From the beginning, you felt close and trusted each other, and it's a way of going back in time, rediscovering that and finding that again with each other. All right, so let's talk about physical intimacy. So I'm just defining physical intimacy as that sensual proximity to each other. I'm not necessarily talking about specifically sex, although it might be that, but I'm just talking about that physical closeness. It's not about words. It's not about what we're saying to each other, but it's about touching in some way that expresses your feelings for that person. So sometimes physical intimacy falls away when there's sexual problems, and we don't touch because we don't want to send the message of maybe we might be sexual, so we just don't touch at all. And so I'm going to give you some ideas and ways that you can touch, and I think it's important to let each other know, I just want to touch you more. I just want to be touched more. Let's have more of this in our relationship. And it fosters emotional closeness. So physical intimacy, whatever that is, might be for your relationship. Let's do a poll right here and talk and find out, how do you feel in terms of physical intimacy with your partner? Do you struggle in that area and you never feel physically close to that person and you kind of stop touching? Do you periodically touch but not often? Do you often touch? Maybe the emotional piece isn't really there, but the physical piece is there. Maybe you always feel close. For a lot of couples, especially couples who have been married for a while or been together for a while, they feel actually quite physically close. And so hopefully you've had a chance to just put your vote in here. Again, be sensitive to the fact that one of you may feel like that's working really well, and the other person says, actually, I really want to be touched more. I'm not touched enough, or I'm being touched too much. Who knows? So let's see what our answers are. What did people say here? So periodically was the most popular answer. Frequently was another popular answer. 25% people feel that way. And then always and never are also things that are very true for not just you. You'll notice other people had that similar answer. So it makes sense. And hopefully after some of the things that I talk about, you'll be able to have a conversation after this webinar with your person and say, hey, let's do more of this. So the first thing that John and Julie Gottman discovered was that cuddling is something that couples who are successful, who last a long time, they do a lot of. Again, it can be clothed. It doesn't have to be naked. It doesn't have to be in bed. It can be on the bed. It can be in the kitchen. It can be in the park. But putting your arms around your person and just holding them for a while feels lovely. And it's something that can be done both directions, whether your partner is the same sex as you or not, it doesn't matter. I think sometimes, and these two pictures show that, often men put their arms around their female partner, if that's the gender of their female partner, but women don't put their arms so much around the other way around. Sometimes it's because the woman is smaller, but I know in my practice that lots of men love their female partner's arms all around them. And so I would encourage you to make sure it goes both directions, that both of you have your arms around each other periodically, and you lay there and you just hold each other, even if it's 30 seconds. If someone's, just brushing their teeth and you come up behind them and put your arms around their waist and just give them a squeeze. There's something that you can say through physical touch that just comes across differently than when you actually say it. So this is something to remember. Also, we're talking about being physically affectionate even in public. So some people don't feel comfortable being very affectionate in public, and that's fine. But reaching out for someone's hand isn't a huge display of affection, but it's letting your partner know, I know you're there. I've got your back. If you put your hand on their back in some way, if you just hold their hand, if you put your arm around them while you're sitting on a park bench, if you put your arms around them, if you kiss them, whatever you might do, making sure that it's not just something, and this is a great conversation to have with your partner, it's not just something that you do privately, but it's something that you, even when you're out in the world, that you just reach for them ever so gently, ever so subtly, or maybe not. I mean, maybe you feel more comfortable just having a deep kiss in the middle of the park, which is fine too. But it doesn't have to be a big thing, is my point. And it's lovely to just have a little touch, to feel like you're saying to that other person, I see you, I know you're there, I love you beside me. All right. So kissing one another passionately for no reason at all is something that Julie and John Gottman found was very a kind of a predictor of people having successful relationships. And I purposely put this picture of this couple who seem elderly and are having this deep, passionate kiss. I think our story is that younger people do that and older people don't. And I think it doesn't matter what age you are, having a deep, passionate kiss is wonderful. And many times we might, when I ask couples in my office, do you kiss? They'll like, yeah, but it's something brief. It's barely a second, maybe a couple of seconds. And so my invitation to you is, if you notice that that's what you do in your relationship, can you linger a little bit? Can you maybe make it a 15-second kiss instead of a 5-second kiss? Can you make it a 20-second kiss instead of a peck? That just that lingering creates some passion. We're not talking about arousal. We're not talking about desire. We're not talking about sending a message that, we're going to have sex later. We're just talking about having that romantic kiss that says we're lovers. We're not just, regardless of what our sexual relationship looks like, we're not just platonic friends. And what I have found with the Parkinson's patients that I've worked with is that they want to feel alive. There's so many ways in which life has gotten harder and smaller. And we, as we age, this is true for all of us, we want to feel vibrancy. We want to feel alive. And I think lingering with touch and kisses is part of what keeps our vitality. So I'm a big believer in that. Knowing what turns your partner on and off erotically is something that they found was very common in couples who have long-term relationships. What I'm talking about here is sort of knowing the things that help the process and knowing the things that are like breaks. Like if my husband tastes like chocolate chip ice cream, I'm just like, oh no, I don't want to taste that when I kiss you. So he knows he needs to brush his teeth before he kisses me. So maybe it's distractions, maybe it's the temperature in the room that might be a break for you, or feeling like you don't have very much time. For Parkinson's patients, sometimes it's, this is not a good time in terms of my medications. It's more of an off time than an on time. So just noticing and knowing that about your partner, what's a good time to spend some quality time together in a physically intimate way. So knowing the things that aren't good times, that turn somebody off, and trying to avoid those to eliminate the breaks, if you will. And then what are the things that help? So maybe going slowly is one of those things that really helps get you going. Or maybe it's starting from the perimeter of your body, not immediately going for somebody's breasts or their genitals or something, but just starting slowly with their hair, or their hands or their feet, or just giving them a light massage feels really lovely. So just having a conversation, again, it's about communication, but having a conversation with your person and just finding out what helps you and what helps them, and remembering those things and doing those things that help you and help your partner. All right. So talking comfortably about your sex life is something that's one of the hardest things for many, many couples. And yet it's one of the things that actually is most successful in creating a good, physically intimate relationship. A good sex life depends on communication, particularly for Parkinson's patients who have some health issues and have some things that they need to manage, not the least of which might be fatigue for many women, or lubrication, or erections. Any of those things can be problematic. And so having a conversation with your partner about, this is what I need, this is what sometimes happens, and when it happens, I need us to do this, to just try as best you can to talk openly about those things really, really helps. So the last thing that they really recommended was creating time on your calendar for these intimate physical dates, whether you want to call them sex dates, or you want to just call them dates, or you want to call it, I had one client who they called it naked time, whatever word you want to use for it, but putting it on the calendar. What I know is that things that are on the calendar happen, and the things that aren't on the calendar often don't happen. And we have this idea that if we just want to wait till we are in the mood and it's spontaneous. But what I notice is that because life isn't very erotic, particularly these days, that we actually do need to put it on the calendar. And so my recommendation is to not worry that I might not be ready, that I might not be in the mood, but to put it on the calendar and say, okay, let's say Saturday afternoon at 2, let's have some naked time together. And the idea is no expectation. So that's an important part of putting it on the calendar. It's not like we're definitely going to do X, Y, and Z, or what we typically do sexually, but it's open. The idea is that we show up with a willingness. We don't have to show up with a lot of desire or a lot of arousal. We just show up with a willingness to start and see where it goes. And we've done our prep work before 2 o'clock, if that's when our naked time is, where we've maybe had a bath so we relaxed, or we went for a walk, or maybe this is maybe something that you do on your own to get yourself ready before you meet up with your partner at 2 o'clock. Whatever's going to help you get ready and be interested in taking off your clothes and just having some time with your person. And maybe you end up just kissing. Maybe you end up putting your hands all over each other's bodies, but it doesn't get more sexual than that. But just leaving it open to wherever you want to go, and having an idea before you even start of, if it was up to me, I'd like to start with X or Y or Z, whatever it might be for you. So that when you show up at 2 o'clock, each person can say, well, I want to start this way. And the other person says, well, I really want to start this way. And then you combine that. So you're right. Somebody wrote, anticipation is an aphrodisiac. So true. When you have something to look forward to, it makes it more exciting, more interesting. And so you kind of get ready. It doesn't ruin the party knowing that you've got a party Sunday night. It makes you excited, looking forward to it. Esther Perel, who's one of my mentors and is a very famous therapist in this country, talks about sex is a place you go, not a thing you do. So she talks about the importance of just being willing to go to a place with your partner that feels special, that feels like your own bubble. And that's all more likely to happen if it actually is put on the calendar. That's my experience. All right, so just to wrap up, intimacy doesn't just happen. It is all the little things you do every day that builds closeness and connection. Everything I've talked about this morning, it's morning time in Portland, Oregon, which is where I am. Everything that I've talked about are simple things. And you may think to yourself, oh, yeah, I know that. Oh, yeah, I know that. How much are you actually doing? How much are you actually lingering with those kisses? How much are you communicating? How much are you turning towards? Holding yourself accountable for all those things and making sure you do it, not waiting for your person to do it, but taking responsibility for you doing it, which might motivate them more to do some of those things. This house, the Sound Relationship House, is from John and Julie Gottman. They came up with this as sort of the main things that really creates a good relationship. Turning towards sharing your fondness and appreciation, managing your conflict, sharing your dreams. And so all of this is really, really important. All right, well, I want to bring on Carlos and Alma and have them come on camera so that you can see them because they have been so kind in joining us. Hi, Carlos. Hi, Alma. Nice to see you. Thank you for
Hello,
being here.
everybody. Hello
Hi.
from Arizona.
From Arizona. Yeah, great. I bet your weather is different there today than mine.
Yes.
Probably. All right. So we really want to hear from you because you are a couple who have been working with Parkinson's and managing your emotional relationship and your physical relationship for a while. So you have some important things to offer the people who are watching and listening. So let's start with emotional intimacy. That was the first thing I talked about. Give us some specific ways that the two of you use, some things that you guys do that you find is really helpful in terms of making you feel emotionally close with each other.
Okay. Yeah. We have been together for 25 years, a little bit more, but we kind of prepare for this moment. Okay. We didn't expect in our 40s, maybe in any illness, no specific PD. We were kind of prepared, but that comes too early for us.
Yeah.
But that's okay because since we were preparing mentally and physically, I think you say something very, very important for us: trust and safe.
Mm-hmm.
Safe and feel trust with each other. And we talk about the PD at the beginning. We were just like everybody else, I think, in shock. But after 4 years, we say, you know what? We don't want to be live around the PD. The PD want to live around us. And then we start preparing. Emotionally, I think that if I understand what he wants and how he feels, I want to start empathize. And I empathize with him, his feelings, his emotions, and I want to start bringing my best for him. And when I say the best, I go back 25 years ago. And I'm start falling in love again.
Oh,
Maybe
love.
him falling in love with me. Like we do a lot of letters. We're from Guatemala, and he was here, I was there, and we wrote a lot of letters. Phone calls, not too much, but because in that time that was expensive for us. But coming back, the last time we talked on the phone, because he lives with my son Gian, he has he's a special need. That's why he lives apart. They have his own their own apartment. We live at the house with my daughter, but we spent 3 hours talking on the phone, and that was very, very nice. I feel like, oh wow, texting, like including not sexting, no, it's more like a sensual
Sensual texting.
texting.
Love it, sensual.
Yeah.
Like we tease each other.
Yeah, we use a lot humor between with the PD with us. We gain weight. We use a lot of humor, and I think that's very important thing into the emotionally part. Also, we kiss a lot. But don't wanna be the other part, but we hold hands. We love that. We say a lot of we have a lot of chats together. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're still boyfriend and girlfriend in a way, since we have older children. My daughter is 20, Gian is 23. And I told Alma before the pandemic, and I got the diagnosis and everything, and I go, this is our time to go out, the two of us. We were planning, we went to Hawaii, then we went to Guatemala, then the next trip was just the two of us to go to Europe. And the pandemic happened, but I still think we're boyfriend and girlfriend. And I feel like this is a good thing.
Yeah.
That's great. That's so helpful too, because what you said, Alma, about that beginning part of your relationship, it laid the foundation for Parkinson's to then show up later, and you have that to draw on. So that's so beautiful. And I love this idea of just falling in love with each other again. What I think that's important for everybody watching to really think about is, what do I need to do to fall in love with this person again? So thank you for that. So maybe you could speak a little bit about the physical aspect of your relationship. How has that been affected by PD, and how do you keep physical closeness alive in the face of PD?
One of the things that helps me a lot is I got tremors in my right hand. And every time we're in public walking, we always hold hands. She always holds my right hand, and we look so normal. So we learn, people need to learn those little tricks, and maybe not say cheat, but we find ways. And you want to add anything else?
Yeah. Sometimes we kiss in public.
In public.
Yeah. And with the mask, sometimes I say, "Oh, come on, Carlos," and he just come and kiss me. And I don't think what the people want to say about kissing. What the people want to think we're kissing with the mask. But I think that's very important for us. Kiss. He always said, "Kiss me, please." I say, "Okay, well, let's go kiss." But that's fine with me. I use like a go with the flow, what he wants, what I want. Yeah.
And going back to the physical is like personally, if had affect me a lot, the Parkinson's. I keep telling Alma I'm half of what I used to be physically. I get tired a lot, and everybody knows with PD what's going on. So we get use whatever is around us that will help us. If it comes to use the blue pill, I mean, Viagra, why not? It's like we use drugs for everything. I use pills for sleep. Why not go the extra step or use something else and it have made such a much difference for us. I can't believe it. I'm like, oh wow. And I don't use it every time we have sex, but every now and then, just to spice things out, voila, it's
Yeah.
That's-
And we also used to, because he come back to the house on Saturday or Friday, depends what we have planned. But maybe the first day he come back is just, we are met just kissing, touching, but without finish the whole thing. And that's helped a lot because it's like okay, that thing is start building.
it's like a game.
Yeah, and we don't need to take off the clothes like you say, right? And it's like I can say like a ritual. I don't know how
A ritual.
ritual. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that works perfect because we don't need to be naked to feel each other. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really important thing that you're talking about, Alma, is sort of easing back into sexuality when you've been apart, because for many women, it takes them a little while and they want to just feel close to their partner emotionally and physically, but before they actually move into sexuality. So the fact that both of you know that and you're on the same page when you reconnect really helps that process. So that's great that you've communicated about that. The other thing I wanted to mention, I appreciate you being vulnerable and speaking about Viagra, Carlos. It's really valuable, I think, for other men to hear that that's something that you use, because many Parkinson's patients use that and it's helpful to them. But it's important that Parkinson's patients realize that it's something that they need to take much sooner than the average person, or maybe that their doctor recommends. That the Parkinson's affects our gut and it makes our digestive system move more slowly. And it's not going to be as effective in the usual time frame that doctors often recommend. Sometimes people have to use it way far in advance for it to really be effective. So I've heard Parkinson's patients say, yeah, I tried Viagra, but it didn't work. And I said, well, when did you take it? And then I said, try taking it an hour earlier or even 2 hours earlier than you would normally. And then all of a sudden it works. So I think that's just really an important point that you raised that is good for us to know. Is there something? Oh, go ahead.
And remember, it's the quality of life.
Right.
And sex, I mean, it's what got us together, not just physically, but you're always looking for the right partner, and she's my partner for life. I think so. And for the last 30 years, because we were boyfriend and girlfriend for 5 years before we got married. But people think that about quality of life. I know people that don't want to take sleeping pills. I go, I mean, it's just common sense. Yeah.
And so when you don't take Viagra and you notice that erections are problematic for you, how else are you guys physical or sexual with each other? How do you still create a good experience? Because I think people who are listening and watching, struggle with erections sometimes don't happen. And so I guess I'd love for you guys to just share your perspective. How do you create a good experience, even if that part isn't working very well?
Oh, well.
Like I said before, we start preparing since Friday or Saturday, and not necessarily we need to have
Intercourse.
Yes,
Right.
just touching.
Mm-hmm.
That helps, and that wanna be my part, like a building on him something. Okay, But if we don't finish, that's fine. That's fine. We prepare for that too. It's like okay, that's fine. We can chocolate ice cream. That's fine. Let's try strawberry. Something like
Yeah. I love that you're saying that, Alma, because I think it's so important that we don't get too attached to what finishing looks like. Like it may not be intercourse, it may not even be an orgasm, and that's okay. So to not get sort of attached to finishing means we're successful, and not having those things means we're not successful. I think we got to blow all that apart and just say, did we have fun together? Did we enjoy touching each other? Do we feel closer as a result of this experience? Great, that this was successful. We've finished what we're really trying to accomplish.
See, I think the pill is like this extra thing to spice things out, because there's been months that I don't use anything. We end up having maybe we do it once a week, maybe twice a week, even without the pill.
Yeah, right.
If we're home alone, we, not saying we go wild, but we're like, okay, this is our night. We can, do things.
Right.
Get in the tub, light some candles, music, and everything.
Lovely. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I know that there's people watching who have questions for either the two of you or for me. And so I want to just check in with Lisa and see if she's got some questions for us that we can answer.
Hi, everybody. It's been so wonderful to listen to you. I am sitting here with a smile on my face, off camera, and just want to say that the sweetness and the honesty and the intimacy of what you're sharing with our community. You have our sincere gratitude from the Parkinson's Foundation of sharing your dance of romance and intimacy with us. And as I'm listening to you, it really is quite a dance, right? When somebody's leading and somebody's following, but there are all these other nuances and cues that you give each other that are subtle. And I just think that's really, really quite beautiful. And thank you for sharing your tips on how you keep your magic, Carlos and Alma, in a very honest and transparent way. And Dr. Silver, how you're bringing this out in them in the conversation. And I really thought the points that you were bringing out in your slides of understanding the differences of intimacy, physicality, romance, sexuality is something that really is, is eye-opening. And also now with the layer of Parkinson's, right? And so some of the questions that have come in that I want to address all of you is, how wonderful the information is for all of us, no matter what kind of partner relationship you are in, but also now adding the layer of a Parkinson's diagnosis. And from some of our viewers, they were diagnosed, one partner young, and now there may be, 2 or 3 decades later that we're getting some questions coming in, or there's some questions coming in on being single and being diagnosed with Parkinson's and being introduced to a new relationship. So I'm going to ask some questions along this realm. So I just wanted to kind of prep you on that. But Dr. Silver, you did mention about you using active listening. And the ways that couples can improve communication with each other. Can you explain what that is and why it is helpful?
So active listening is a way to sort of slow down conversations that people have that might be more emotional, or they might have a little more energy to them. And so active listening is really kind of designating a speaker and a listener, and letting the speaker just talk about whatever they're experiencing. And it's really the listener's job to just sort of repeat back, not verbatim, but just to repeat back what they're hearing that other person saying without defending their position or putting in what they think. Literally, the listener is just saying, it sounds like you're really mad that I don't take out the garbage, or whatever it may be. Or, you just repeat back what they're saying so that the person who's speaking feels really understood and listened to. And then at some point you switch back, and so that the person who is listening has a chance to say, well, this is why I don't take out the garbage. And this is what I didn't even realize it was a thing for you. And I'm so glad you spoke up. And, you know, and then the person who's now the listener, who was the speaker, gets to repeat back some of that. It just is a way for couples to slow their conversations down so that there's less conflict. And I'd be curious, Alma and Carlos, if you could jump in here and just say, is there a way that you guys work out conflicts that might be helpful for other people to hear about?
Yeah. When we don't agree with something, we use a lot of I statement. I hear that you saying that the garbage thing that I want, that you want me to take out the garbage. It's his turn to do it. But it's just like, okay, I will do it this time. That's fine. Let's go do it. Because the power struggle. Okay, that was before. That was for our younger years. Yeah. Now you know what? Okay, I will do it. That's fine. That's fine. Oh, if we don't agree, okay, let's get apart, think, and then maybe if we can talk again, let's go talk about it. But more calm, more like, okay, let me understand well what we want to do with this. Not like, okay, it's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah, myself, I learned to simplify my life. Now I'm staying at home all day. I spend half of my time with my son and half of the time with Alma. And there have been so few arguments. And when she calls me and she's like, oh, I forgot my lunch. And I'm like, okay, now it's the time to be, I will not get upset. I'll turn it around and I go, well, this is my time where I'm gonna feel important. There's my daughter and my son and a bunch of friends that can bring you lunch. What if I say no? You will never ask me again, right? Because I will never be there for you. It will not take long. You just stop by through the drive-thru, go to her workplace, and wow. And guess what? I'm gonna get something back. I might get a special night. Who knows? That's what I'm thinking. Instead
Yeah.
fighting, I'm like, yeah, I wash your car and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Simple things. And since my life is so simple, it's like, yeah, it's.
Thank you for sharing that. And what I'm also sensing, you've been together so long, and it's a deep-rooted relationship of over 20 years, and a family and children and family around you. Do you have any tips or tricks or or helpful hints for our viewers who are out there who are single and maybe interested in going into a relationship, new to a relationship? And I'm going to take it from the perspective of, we're staying in our young onset, Parkinson space here, of talking, how do we bridge this conversation, intimacy, romance, where they are today in a progressive neurological disease, and where where today is, and who knows what the tomorrows are, but a conversation starter. Do you have any points to share with our viewers on this?
You're talking
Yeah, I'll ask Dr. Silver first, and then from Carlos and Alma.
Yeah, so what I would say is that it's important that it's up front. I've heard that if you don't share it up front, or you don't, people feel kind of like they can't trust you. So I think it's not something to hide or to be secretive about necessarily. But I also think it's important for Parkinson's patients who are single, to not see that as a defining thing about them. It is a piece about them, but they are so much more than just Parkinson's. So I think it's important for them to know what they bring and make sure that that comes through on a date with somebody, that they can feel all that they are, all their interests, all the things that are beautiful and wonderful about them, and that they make sure that they're coming to the date not in a closed, kind of collapsed place of, oh, I have Parkinson's and that's all of me, but that like, I'm fabulous. Yes, I have Parkinson's, but I also have a lot that's going on. And I know that if you can get to a World Parkinson's Congress, they always have talks about singles. And you see the single people talking about this, how they are not going to let Parkinson's get in their way. As Alma said earlier, Parkinson's isn't at the center of their life. Parkinson's is around them. And so I think that that's important for single people to realize as well. Yeah.
Thank you. And Alma and Carlos, do you have any tips to add?
Yeah, I think the doctor says something being very specific. I think that if I'm single, I have Parkinson, I want to say, you know what? I have Parkinson, but I'm great in this and this and this. I like to go, I don't know, ride bicycle, motorcycle, hiking. This is me, and I have this. If you want it, take it. If you don't like it, go. Because always gonna be somebody there, special, just for that person. I don't think it's a bad thing to have Parkinson, because we have different things. Okay, I'm diabetic. I have a I don't know, any illness. Yeah, but this is me, and know me.
I love that. And it was also the tone of the whole webinar today too. It was about, partnering romance and dance relationships, and Parkinson's was a piece of the puzzle, but it was really about the relationship and two people and communication and trust. So I really, that was really wonderful to hear. I'm going to close just with one last question, because we are in a COVID world, right? And there's outside and there's masks and dating or together. And you were speaking about active listening, and in the COVID space of 24/7 living with each other, how do you do, active non-listening or active tuning out? Any suggestions about living in the COVID world and keeping romance alive?
Yeah, I hear this so much from my clients, is that when you're not used to living 24/7 with your partner and having their office in the home and your office in the home and all of that. And so I have a couple recommendations around that. One is just make sure that you find some time to just get a little time apart. I think you've got to be intentional about it and be creative and find ways to just have some space, because no relationship is going to survive very well with a 24/7 being together all the time. Another thing that I mention sometimes to clients is, what do you wear? Like, a lot of people are like hanging around the house wearing their sweats or their old t-shirts or whatever, and they don't do their hair. And there's a way we get kind of lax about our personal view on ourselves. And that's fine if it's just a Saturday, but if you're 24/7 living in your home, then you have to notice part of romance is, yeah, I'm gonna look nice once in a while. Now, this isn't dressy. It's just making sure that I'm putting on a little cologne or perfume, or I'm doing my hair, and I'm not wearing everything that's just with holes in it, or, looking kind of sweats all the time. So I think that's another important piece.
Good to know. Alma and Carlos, do you have any last words about living 24/7 at times together in a pandemic?
Yeah, we were thinking about if we were living in the same house. I was working from home. I used to start going to my workplace, but I think that if you guys are living together at the same home, just staying home because the COVID, choose a different place for each one of you, okay? Create your own space, your happy place. You can use your phone, you can use your computer, everything in that a specific place of the house. And text him or her and say, you know what, let's go eat. Oh, you can come to my place. We want to have a special date or something. And like if Carlos were saying that, bring champagne, candles, do a nice things. And I want to dress.
Surprise.
Sexy or something. And we would meet at the dining room. And he would surprise me with that. I don't know, something like that.
I love that idea, making it special of what we have in our own home and looking at our own four walls. Well, I see that we are on top of the hour. I have a few more comments for our viewers, but I want to thank you, all three of you, so much, Dr. Silver and Alma and Carlos, for sharing your intimate story with us and sharing how you're making your romance continue on after all these years, and the respect that you show for each other is really, really wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Silver. You have our sincere gratitude. And now I just want to do a few more ending points of slides with all of you. As you know, this webinar and all webinars are recorded for on-demand viewing, and you can look out for that in about a day or so. So I want to thank you for that. Let's go to my next slide if I'm pushing through. And again, we want to have a sincere thank you to our sponsor for their generous support for this expert briefing from Neurocrine Biosciences. And for those who are interested in a CEU of the health professionals, we're just chatting that again. Click on that link right now to take the quiz. You have 30 days to take that to receive your one free CEU. It does take about 2 months to receive the CEU from American Society on Aging, so please be patient. We will also have this on our website as well. And the slides can be downloaded either via the link in the chat or on our website. And today's webinar concludes our fall series on young onset Parkinson's, but we'd like you to get ready for our winter spring series, which is a different topic on symptom management. Is it PD, medication, or aging? So the registration is open now, and we look forward to seeing you starting in February. We do have an extra webinar we're highlighting actually next week with our partnership with AARP. This is the second one in our series on fall prevention and living safely in your home. And of course, we have a plethora of resources at the Parkinson's Foundation. We have podcasts and other fact sheets and booklets and our helpline to answer your questions about Parkinson's and about romance and about a young onset Parkinson's here. And please, before you go, we're going to sign off, but please don't sign off yet because a survey will pop up because we want to hear from you and about topics for our future expert briefings and also what you really liked about today's program as well. So thank you for joining us. The Parkinson's Foundation appreciates you being with us and have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.